What is up, everybody? Welcome to NumberBet betting podcast, where we cover the SuperContest lines and talk through what our model says, what our gut says, and some strategy to help you potentially be contrarian and get an edge on the field that way, right? So I do this with my buddy Milo every week. Matt, what's up, dude?
Coming off of what I'm going to say is slightly a disappointing week. I felt like I had things in control. The Bears fell apart for me earlier in the 1 o'clock games, and it wasn't as good as it could have been. But, just like every week, you go through your process, you grade everything out, you make your picks, and right back at it again. A couple more weeks to hopefully close this out strongly.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking pre-show, and I was saying how I was so confident after nailing the New England pick, and just it's one thing to be on the right side and get it right and everything, but to just have a blowout and a shutout as like the team that you're on, it's just your confidence shoots way up. So heading into the next two games, I'm like, all right, well, those are wins too. I'm on fire right now, and finished out 1 and 2 with my picks last week. It was super disappointing, but cumulative score, I think I came out ahead there because New England covered by so much.
Yeah, that's how they count it too, right? Whenever you make bets, if the team you bet on won by more than the ones you lost, you don't have to pay if you lose.
Good.
Right?
That's what I thought. Yeah, that's my impression of everything. So that's good. So let's talk about the Patriots, because the Patriots play on Thursday. They're in LA to face the Rams. The Rams are 5.5-point favorites, but the Patriots are one of these teams that's kind of trending upward. Last week, I don't have many futures bets out. I placed, and I talked about last week, the Bears, right? So I placed bet on them at 251 to win the NFC. And that's already dead after 1 week. And I'm sure we'll talk about that in a little bit. But that loss was pretty crazy last week. I've got a bunch of money on the Chargers. That's pretty much dead. So I decided to throw some more dead money out there and take the Patriots at 151 to win the Super Bowl. 150 to 1 heading into last week. Of course, that looks a little better now. But you see now that the Patriots are gaining a little bit of value in the power ratings and all that kind of stuff. So I've got them kind of trending upward. They're a team I want to buy on. You talk about them a lot as a Steelers fan and how they're kind of like the one team that really scares you. You don't want to face them in the playoffs, all that kind of stuff, because of their coaching staff for a big part, and also just the history and the memories, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a dog with an invisible fence. Like, the fence is gone now because Brady's not there, but that invisible fence is still there, and I'm afraid to cross it constantly. And here we are again, where, the Rams are 5.5-point favorites. My model has us at 5, slightly in on New England, and I am running as far away from this game as I can. I feel like the Rams are probably the correct side because New England has thrown for 12 yards passing combined the past 2 weeks, or some ridiculously low number. The Rams defense is very, very good. If there's a team that is 100% trending upwards, and you can make an argument they're the best team in the NFC right now, possibly in the Rams, but I am petrified of this game, and I don't want any parts of it. I can't even figure out where the public's going to be on this one, because you think New England's such a public side getting all these points, but then again, they haven't really been good. They ugly up the game, and the Rams can ugly up the game. And, this is the same coaching staff, besides Brian Flores, who is obviously in Miami, that made this powerful Rams offense look absolutely horrible in the Super Bowl 2 years ago. So that's kind of in the back of my head. And I'm going to pass, but I'm kind of leaning New England. And, I'm sure by the time Thursday night rolls around, I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, let's go, and just jump on one of the sides. But I don't want to do it, and I'm trying to talk myself out of it right now.
So I'm looking at just the Action Network. They have kind of bet percentages based on trying to gauge the public and everything. And I don't think they're a perfect gauge and everything. And we've talked about before on the previous shows that it's like, you can tell you the percentage of the bets that come in on a team, but not what number those bets are getting placed at. So it can be a little bit deceptive, but it's dead even is what they have it at. So I don't think there is like a contrarian side here or anything, or an angle to take that way. And I'm with you. Like, if there isn't some sort of angle like that, why mess with this game? I don't think this is one that we need to turn to. Just an overview of what my models spit out this week. A lot more peaks and valleys, a lot more of undervaluing teams, and basically it's telling me to take sides a lot more strongly than it has in previous weeks, where talk to you a bit, Milo, and in Slack and everything. It's like I'm within a point almost every game, every week for months now, couple months, and this is not one of those weeks. So I'm going to have some strong stands here, some strong takes based on what the model is saying.
I mean, I think that makes complete sense, especially because this is the part of the year where you're going to have the most data you're going to have outside of playoffs, and there's only a select few games. So these are the slates. Everybody's done with their buys. Everything's full on. All your numbers are in there. And, my model shoots out basically 3 games that has a pretty good lean on, and everything else is a pass. And, when there's 16 games, that's probably where you should kind of be landing. But with everything and some of the unknowns that we have, and some people that this is kind of the spots where teams maybe stop playing people or get looks, I guess I should say, at other people to kind of find out what they have, which you're going to see in some of these games. So wonky and weird things do happen too. So just be careful out there, everyone.
That's a good point too about how many games there are. Since there are more games, I should expect to have more plays that it's giving me, right? So yeah, let's move on. Let's talk about the Packers and the Lions. The Lions are at home, but they're 7.5-point underdogs. Pretty big underdogs here, but the Packers are the team that I think is, it's honestly, it's a toss-up in the NFC, but they are one of the teams out there, along with the Rams and along with the Bucs and along with the Saints, that could be considered favorites in the NFC, depending on who you ask. The Packers look really good sometimes, look pretty bad sometimes as well. On the road here in a dome wouldn't seem to set up narrative-wise for Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, you want Aaron Rodgers in the snow and the wind and all that kind of stuff. Where does that narrative fit with your model and everything? Do you have a lean here?
Well, so this is one of the games that I'm pretty close, but just for looking at the slate as a whole, we're talking about all the games. You have 6 home favorites, which means you have 10 home dogs. That is insane. Obviously COVID related, no fans, all these things. And last week you had a whole bunch of teams getting over a touchdown. Guess what? All of those teams getting over a touchdown were good for the most part last week. It was a dog week. And, maybe there's some overvalue here. And I kind of expected, plugging everything in, that my model was going to land on the Lions here. However, no. I have this at 9. So there is a slight lean towards Green Bay. It's not quite the confidence level that I want it to be model-wise, but I love the Packers here. Detroit, if they end up losing that game where they were down 10 to the Bears pretty much the entire game, this is probably 9.5 or 10 points. Green Bay is significantly better than them. If I do recall correct, every single running back in the entire world does well against Detroit. Green Bay has 2 of them they can rotate. Whatever your feelings are on them, you should have no problems running the ball. Green Bay's kind of getting healthy. And Detroit might be 2, but, there's also a chance those guys still sit. And I'm going to be on the Packers, and it's kind of one of those spots that I have no problem laying the points on the road. Prefer to be 7, but I have no problem with 7.5.
Yeah, so I have the line at 9 as well. So we're dead on here, and that's just this is the kind of the bet that you feel a little bit better about than some of these other ones we're going to talk about, where I'm going to be cringing as I'm like, yeah, bet on this team with this horrible quarterback. It's nice to have one.
Oh, it's coming.
Exactly. Yeah, it's nice to have one of these in the portfolio, so that Sunday morning, as I'm looking at, all right, which teams am I backing? It's not just all these these quarterbacks that aren't going to be even having jobs next year and stuff. So, yeah, I'm strongly considering the Packers almost just for that. But like I said, model likes it. It's a 1.5 of value there. I think that you basically said I can't really add much to it. You pointed out that the Lions also could be getting healthier, which could add to the value of the Lions side. So if this was something you wanted to wait on, I understand that to see the injury news, to see what the reports are on Friday. But really, like, number one, DeAndre Swift, I don't think he's going to be a factor at this point, based on what his teammates are saying and everything. Even if he plays, whatever, he's not going to move the line or something. And Galladay, it's like, you're talking about maybe half a point. We've already talked about Galladay and his value specifically before, and it's not that much. So I'm comfortable with the Packers here. Let's move on to the next team. Let's talk about the Jaguars and the Titans. Another home dog here of 7.5 points. The Titans are a team that I don't know is a team you'd expect to be getting that many points, but it is against a bottom 3 team in the NFL. So, like, you can make the argument, but this is not the team that I'm going to want to be like, let me try and win by more than a touchdown with a team that's, in my opinion, not that great. They're okay. They're like borderline playoff team, whatever, but not the Packers.
I mean, this game seems to go two ways for me. I mean, Tennessee has definitely been zigzagging what it feels like for a couple weeks now, where they're fantastic, they're terrible. They're fantastic, they're terrible. Obviously, they were terrible last week. And this is a spot where they could definitely be fantastic. If you told me that Derrick Henry ran for 200 yards and 4 touchdowns, I'd be like, okay, I would buy it completely. My model has a spread at 9, so it does have a lean on Tennessee. But my instincts and everything are saying that I want to be on Jacksonville's game. Jacksonville has been sneakily playing well and just kind of hanging around in games. I can't believe I'm going to actually say these words, but Mike Glennon has been throwing the ball around decently well. They've been able to move it. They've been able to score. And we just watched a Baker Mayfield-led offense, use their play-action game and throw the ball vertically. And if there's one thing Mike Glennon and Jacksonville can kind of do, it's throw the ball a little bit. I mean, they have, obviously, James Robinson, running back, that can help them. And it just feels like this might be too much. And, of course, I might be on the wrong side of this, and I might end up with Jacksonville. And then, like I said, Derrick Henry runs for 9 million yards, and I look like an idiot by 1:45 p.m. Everything's in play here. So I'm probably going to pass as my long-winded answer on that one.
Yeah, I mean, just to put it in perspective here of what we mean by Glennon's looking okay, 1 touchdown, 3 turnovers against the worst or second worst pass defense in all of football. It's like,
they scored points though.
Yeah, and Tennessee's another bad pass defense, right? So, yeah, we'll see.
It's like you said, you're at the point in the year where it's like, okay, you're gonna have to take some ugly sides here. You can't just back all the good teams aren't covering. I mean, it happened last week. Kansas City struggled. Pittsburgh struggle. It's obviously it's going to be tough. And is Mike Glennon the spot I want to pick? Probably not, though.
So my model is with you though on the Titans, and I think that would be the side that I would lean if I were to choose a side. But like I said, I'm not going to take the Titans to cover that many points. That's my problem. That's why I can't get there. Again, maybe there are fewer games on this weekend that maybe I get there. But it's just there are a lot better options. And one of my favorite options, which is weird, is this next game. And we're going to talk about the Cowboys and the Bengals here. Bengals are at home. They're 3.5-point dogs. I think that the Bengals should be favorites.
Well, guess what? Our models are pretty similar here. I have the Cowboys minus a half point. So this is one that my model definitely suggests a play on. Because it says the Cowboys should be favored by a half point, it suggests a play on Cincinnati. Now, I'm not completely sure who's going to be the quarterback for Cincinnati. I think that's still kind of up in the air at this point. But I don't understand how Dallas can be giving more than a 3 to anyone, let alone 3.5 on the road or at home at this point. My model's on it. It's ugly. Joe Mixon is back. That should definitely help that Cincinnati offense. And Dallas is not good. But Cincinnati, I don't think – I was going to say is not terrible, but they are terrible. But they're not as bad as you kind of think they are. They've hung around at times despite the quarterback situation being what it is. So I'm going to have to be on Cincinnati thanks to my model.
Yeah, I tweeted out just how ugly it was for them last week. Their last 7 possessions, it was like 3 yards punt, 5 yards, interception. They had like one drive where it was like 35 yards and they missed a field goal. It was like negative 10 yards, punt. Negative 3 yards, interception. It was just so bad, man. Like they scored one touchdown and that was it. It was just they couldn't move the ball at all. But it's like, how bad can you really be? Like, we have to quantify everything. And you want to talk about how bad the Jets are. Like, that's the team that we can point to this year where it's like, all right, that's the worst team. Most people agree with that by now. I think earlier in the season, there are some sharp people that thought that, hey, maybe the Jets are undervalued. And at one point, I think I might have been one of them. Honestly, I don't remember. It seems like so long ago. But the Jets, like if you replace them and say, okay, well, the Jets are facing Dallas, like it was still, you'd still be betting the Jets here, I think, at this line. So it's just, I don't know, man. Like it's two pretty bad teams, and Cincinnati at home, a little bit of an edge there. Dallas, I don't know what you thought of their performance this last week, but it's hard to judge them against a team like Baltimore, where again we've seen a lot of peaks and valleys, a lot of good, a lot of bad from Baltimore, a lot of inconsistency. But I thought the score was not close to what the play on the field was. I felt like the Ravens should have won like 55-7.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, Justin Tucker missed a field goal. He almost never misses, although it gave us a fantastic live betting opportunity when it was 10-7 Dallas, so that I was more than happy to take advantage of. And you take away the turnover by Lamar Jackson early, and that game is a complete blowout, a runaway. So Dallas is bad. It feels like a spot where, I don't know, maybe they fire the coach after 1 year. Could be. But we know that Cincinnati is – no, Jerry probably he won't double down on it and say he made a mistake. That's not his way.
Yeah,
he would just say like,
yeah, no way.
Listen, strange things happen. What if Lincoln Riley from Oklahoma, local guy, close to the situation, says, "Hey, I want to come here," and then all of a sudden he's like, "All right, you're gone. I'm bringing the next guy." He's done weird things like that before, but for the most part, he has stuck with people longer than he should have. With Jason Garrett and. In this spot, like I said, I'll be on Cincinnati. It's ugly. Ryan Lindley and the points. Week 14 NFL. Love it.
Yeah, Ryan Finley, I mean, that is about as bad as it gets. Second-year quarterback. Last year didn't really show that much, but came in and was okay against Miami, right? I mean, he was 6-7, 40 yards, threw a pick. It's like, that was pretty good for what they did overall. But it's just it's two bad teams, man, and I think it's the lesser of two evils, if you want to put it that way. It's just I'm not back in Dallas. Dallas, it's crazy because they've got all these weapons on offense and everything. It's just that line is really, really bad, and Cincinnati's line is bad too. But it's just they can't run block, they can't pass block, and the defense is bad as well. We're both on Cincinnati. Let's move on. Let's talk about the Cardinals and the Giants. Again, another home dog. This one's a bit smaller, though the Giants are 1.5-point home dogs here. I haven't seen the latest on Daniel Jones, but the last I saw, which was earlier today, they are expecting that he's going to play, right?
Yes, I expect this will be Daniel Jones, and this game I can't stand. It feels almost too easy to take the Giants at this point. So just to be fair, my model has this line at 5. It says Arizona should be -5, but there's no confidence at all in it whenever I run it through, which is odd considering the discrepancy in the line. For the confidence to not be there, it tells me that it doesn't trust this at all. I want to be on the Giants. I want to back that defense, but I can't. I mean, I understand Arizona has just fallen off a cliff, and it just seems terrible. And falling off a cliff is a perfect phrase, I guess, considering their head coach. But I can't do it.
We're doing puns now. Is that what we're doing?
That was an accident. It wasn't even on purpose. But I didn't notice it until after I said it. But it's bad, and like I said, it feels almost too easy to take the Giants. What if the Giants defense not shown up and made games difficult over the last 6 or 7 weeks? Every week they are competitive. They are doing well. And that Arizona offense, since Kyler stopped running, looks bad. There's just nothing going on there. Maybe his
That's what
shoulder
I was
really
telling
is
you
hurt.
last week. Yeah. So
Well, listen, it took me. I almost got on Arizona last week, and the morning of, I was like, no, this is the wrong side. I'm not doing this, and I just completely stayed away from it. But I was this close to just being like home dog, good situation, coming off a loss, But at some point, the eye test actually does matter at this point in the year. This isn't like we can play situations as much in week 14. So I think the Giants are the side I want to be on, despite my model being on the other way. And tell me why I shouldn't be on the Giants here. Come on.
oh no, I mean I've been expressing my concern about the Cardinals since the injury there, and it's like it's not even just the rushing for Kyler. The passing hasn't really been there. It showed up in touchdowns, so that'll deceive some people, I think. But 39 pass attempts for 173 yards, like that is ugly. That is really ugly for the horizontal air raid or whatever they call it. Like even that's still one of his lowest per average games that he's had. And it's just if he's even throwing shorter routes, which again, like you look at Nuke and the routes he's running with fits out. I pointed out to Justin 2 weeks ago that I thought that Nuke would run more similar routes to that. And that just almost takes away your weapon, right? Like I don't know. It like gives him a crutch. It's just he's not 100% when he's just running the short routes instead of being able to let him loose deep and everything. So yeah, I think the Cardinals are a good fade right now. Don't mind backing the Giants. Not like the Giants are the team I'm super excited about or anything right now. This would mainly be a bet against the Cardinals for me. And my model does have a point of value on the Cardinals. It's just that I don't trust it for the reasons I said. Any final thoughts on this?
I agree with you.
All right, let's move on to the Texans and Bears. Another home underdog, but only a 1 point underdog for the Bears here. The Bears hinted at it at the top of the show. We might get into what they did last week. Man, they were up by 10 points with 2 minutes and 19 seconds left, and they lost. That's bad, man. And it's just, I was telling you, like, that's the one thing that gets me. Like, a lot of this stuff, like showdown, like leads and or winning leading in a qualifier or whatever, and getting caught from behind. Like, I don't even sweat that stuff. Like, I expect it. When you're up by 10 in situations like this, and there's 2 minutes left, and it's like, all right, well, just get a first down, run out the clock, and you win, or whatever. It catches me by surprise every time. I don't know what it is, but I cannot train my brain to be like, hey, remember, this isn't over yet. And the Bears just I was on the Bears. That was a rough one, right? I mean, just put a bet on them to win the NFC, and they're pretty much dead now.
So you're the wrong person to talk me off liking the Bears again for like the fourth straight week, or at least what it feels like. I mean, this is crazy to me. Houston's offense missing a whole bunch of weapons still. Going on the road in Chicago, it's going to be cold. It is winter pretty much. And the Bears defense, for the most part, continues to show up. I don't know what happened last week towards the end, though. They seem to fall apart, I will say that. But if you'd have told me last week the Bears offense was going to score 30 points, I'd have thought that we not only won, but covered by at least 2 touchdowns. I didn't even think it'd be close. Something to consider whenever you're thinking about that Green Bay wager, too, considering Detroit gave up 30 to the Bears. But that's neither here nor there. Here's the biggest problem is I don't trust the Bears, but I really just want to be on them again. Everything in me is saying back them again, getting points at home against a team that is, I don't know, floundering is the nice way to put it. I mean, it's Watson and a whole bunch of no-names at this point. And I want to be on the Bears, but my model backs being on the Bears because it says the spread should be 0.5. The Bears should be favored. So slight edge, but not enough that it's really worth anything. So it's either Bears or fade for me here.
I like Houston, but again, this isn't going to be one I bet. I'm not taking this. The Texans had been pretty much on a roll, and then Fuller goes down. And it's like, well, could see it kind of just turn around, going the opposite direction. And all of a sudden them spinning out and kind of just losing everything, right? But they'd won 3 straight games before losing that last one against the spread. And I can't do it, man. Not with Will Fuller out. Will Fuller's my boy, man. The last week in the rundown, it pretty much listed all the Texans to fade. Kuti had a good game. Cooks was okay, but felt pretty good about fading that team against the Colts here, and they just run into another tough defense. That's although I wouldn't say the Bears are top 5 this year, probably top 10, top 8 around there. It's going to be tough.
I agree completely. And like I said, happy to move away and just kind of 16 games cross this one off as far as I'm concerned.
Let's do it. All right, let's move to the next one. We've got the Panthers and the Broncos. The Panthers are at home. They're favored by 3 points against the great Drew Lock. The one thing here that I will say that's positive for the Broncos is you look at their schedule, and they have had the toughest schedule so far this season if you adjust for expectations. Like if you DVOA adjust it, right? And like that's something. That means something. The Bears have the second toughest schedule to this point. Moving forward, the Bears have one of the easier ones. You know who's had the easiest schedule so far this season?
Pittsburgh?
I'm pretty sure it's Pittsburgh. Yeah, it's if they're not first, they're second. I'm pulling it up right now. Yeah, they're first or second. I know that. So they've had a really easy track. They're still a really good team though. I'm not trying.
That's because they played the NFC East. So that's automatically, if that's your crossover division, that's going to be beneficial. And then the other one is the AFC South. And, they haven't played Cleveland a second time. They haven't played the Colts, who obviously have a winning record. Buffalo coming up this week. They're going to play 3 playoff teams basically in the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, so Miami's number 1 and Pittsburgh's number 2. Something to keep in mind with Miami. I know that we're probably higher than most people on Miami or have been in recent weeks, but they have played the easiest schedule to this point. All right, so tell me what you like in this game, man. 3-point spread here. You think this one is going to be close?
I mean, it's certainly setting up to be that, but, what is the Carolina offense looking like with, injuries to DJ Moore and obviously possibly Christian McCaffrey coming back? What does this look like? If all those players are healthy, how could you not be on Carolina? And we just saw A.J. Boye got suspended for Denver for PEDs, so now they're missing a corner. It certainly sets up nicely for Carolina. My model says that this spread should be 3.5, so it's pretty much right in line or pretty close to it. And oddly enough, despite the spread saying it should be 3.5, there was a slight lean on Denver in my model when you run through all the simulations, but not enough that I trust anything. And I don't like this game, and I'm more than happy to cross it off. Maybe it's a better DFS game than it is a game to bet on, but Carolina, if I had to pick a side.
Maybe if there's pricing in there something, or if McCaffrey plays, then like one of those running backs would be fine, but it'd probably be too ugly for too much DFS relevance. Just because it's like none of the receivers ever do anything for Denver because Drew Lock is so bad. And
no fan.
He's been okay. He's been the best out of that whole group. But the Panthers, it's like, where's it gonna go? I mean, it's just I never want to play that guessing game really. And the Broncos are a decent defense, so I'm staying away from this. I have the same exact line as the SuperContest at -3, so no reason to go there. Let's talk about the Bucs and the Vikings. Bucs are a team that you've been on more often than not, I would say. They are 6.5-point favorites here at home against the Vikings. Vikings are, with Cook and with Thielen and Jefferson, that's not a bad offense. I know it's Cousins behind center, but those are some really good weapons. And Cousins is decent. Like he's not some of these other guys we're talking about, where it's just like, man, how are they going to move the ball? Like Cousins will do okay. He's not going to wow you, but when you surround him with those weapons, this can be a really good offense.
I agree with you, and this is going to sound crazy, despite barely beating Jacksonville and losing to Dallas recently. But I kind of like Minnesota in this game, getting the points. Excuse me. Despite Tampa coming off the bye, my model has exactly 6.5. No lean in any way, shape, or form. Everything's exactly where it should be, but it just feels like, Tampa Bay seems to be just kind of fading a little bit here, and Minnesota has a shot to end up getting that last playoff spot. Part of the reason that we like Chicago and San Francisco as long shot bets is because we saw the Arizona Bay fade coming, and that 7th playoff spot is wide open in the NFC. Those 4 teams, I think, all lost last week or came pretty close to it, or one of them won. And guess what? All 4 of them are still in the exact same position and have a chance to pick it up. I kind of like Minnesota here. It scares me. I know it's weird, but Kirk Cousins on the road against a good defense. Sign me up, apparently.
Oh man! So my motto is the same line as the Super Contest. So there's no edge there, but I'm just having a hard time not being on Tampa. It's just number one. So I've been talking about schedule quite a bit, right? That's one of the things I researched a decent amount today. I think, of course, the more information you can get about how strong each of these teams actually are and make fewer assumptions and have more solid opinions, then you can start to adjust things and look at how teams have done relative to expectation. And the Bucks are just one of those teams that will grade out really well when you do that kind of stuff. When you look at DVOA is going to rate the Bucks pretty well. And it's just, I don't know, man. Like, you're going to put Tom Brady with those weapons up against this pass defense. We just talked about, I just referenced Minnesota as being the worst or second worst pass defense, right? Even bad quarterbacks are put up some sort of numbers against them. And Antonio Brown, I think looks good out there. Just, it hasn't all come together. It just feels like this is the week that Antonio Brown gets on track and like Tom Brady throws for 400 yards and the Bucks have a good enough defense to be able to shut down the Vikings, especially that run defense with Dalvin Cook. I mean, are there 3 other defenses that you'd rather have to try and stop Dalvin Cook other than the Bucks? Probably not, right? Bucks are way up there. So it just seems like a nice matchup fit, and it's more of a narrative driven pick here, being on the side of the Bucks.
I get it completely. Like I said, it's scary to think that I want to back Kirk Cousins on the road in this spot. And, having the bye week, Tampa Bay should be well rested, everything you could possibly want at this late juncture in the season. And I get it completely. In the end, I'm going to stay away from this more than likely. But, I just want to – I don't know why. I don't think I have gotten Minnesota right recently the past couple weeks. And I know that Tampa Bay has been kind of interesting because they've blown out a couple teams and have covered, bigger numbers. And anytime they've played like a relatively decent team is when they've kind of struggled at times. So not really sure what to make of Tampa Bay. I was prepared to bet against, or everybody was prepared to bet on Tampa Bay as the 5 seed playing against the NFC East. Now I'm not so sure, depending upon what that number ends up being. And, Tom Brady going to go to New York in round 1 and play his nemesis, the Giants, has an interesting ring to it. The narratives are there. Watch, they'll end up wiping the floor with them, beating them by 30 because the Giants can't score. But, for this week, I'm going to stay away here, I think, completely.
I mean, do you think it's a good thing for a 57-year-old quarterback to have a bye week? You think that could be helpful?
I mean, that could be advantageous at this juncture in the season. I mean, if I go and play basketball with my kids for 45 minutes, I need a day or 7 before I can do it again.
Yeah, maybe a week to kind of get things in line with Antonio. I don't know. It's narrative type stuff, like I said, but it's hard to pass those storylines up. All right, let's move to the Chiefs and the Dolphins. The Dolphins are at home, and they are touchdown underdogs. I don't know how I feel about the Dolphins right now. Tua, banged up, in and out of the lineup, whatever. Fitz makes the offense look pretty good Tua makes it look okay, and then it's just that the defense, man. The defense looks really good. I mean, it was against Cincinnati where I was talking about those drives where it's like, all right, 3 yards punt. I mean, the offense isn't good in Cincinnati, but the defense is good. Regardless of who they're playing. I don't know, man. I used to Chiefs, so it's like I don't think the Miami is gonna limit them to under 20 points or something like that. But if they did, then I would. If you told me that they did that ahead of time, then I would say, yeah, give me the Dolphins here then for sure.
I mean, I want to bet the Dolphins so badly, like absolutely so badly, and it's so strange. My model has the spread should be at 4, so there is a pretty big lean on the Dolphins, but not enough that the confidence level doesn't reach an automatic bet level for me. But it just feels like a great spot to be on the Dolphins. Kansas City has struggled. They have times where they look like world beaters on offense. They go up and down the field like it's nothing, and there's other times where it's just a slight incompletion, a tip pass, and all of a sudden, those points aren't there, and they're kicking field goals, and they're dropping passes and things. Now, I know Tyreek Hill missed practice with an illness, and there is no update beyond that, and I'm assuming he's going to play, but this is an offense that if they're missing one of those key weapons, Kelsey or Hill, I'm 1,000% going to be on Miami. And Look, I kind of wish Ryan Fitzpatrick was the quarterback because then I have a lot more confidence that Miami would score. But at this point, we're assuming it's going to be Tua the rest of the year no matter what, and they're building for the future, and maybe they're going to let him do a little bit more. But I'm going to find myself on the Dolphins come Sunday.
Yeah, so it's still the thumb with Tua, and the problem is it's on his throwing hand. So it's hard to judge to it. And we're talking about him like he's been bad or like really bad or something. He's 7 touchdowns, no interceptions, passer rating of 100. He had almost 300 yards last week. Like Tua by the numbers has been very good. Just hasn't been super high volume, right? I mean, it's been low volume. The 296 he threw for against Cincinnati was the highest that he's had. He hasn't thrown for more than 2 touchdowns yet. And he also isn't running the ball as much as I thought. I didn't think he was going to run all over the place or anything, but that 7 for 35 line that he had against Arizona, thought we'd see a couple more of those, and those aren't really out there right now. So I don't know if that'll change or not, but we'll have to see. I'm with you. I would lean towards the Dolphins here. My model has it about a point and a half towards Kansas City, but that ultimately is probably what's going to keep me away, not wanting to go against the ball, not wanting to go against the Chiefs. It's the worst to bet against the Chiefs, but if you did the last 4 weeks, you won. They haven't covered a game in the last four weeks. I know that they seem, or to me anyway, I don't want to speak for everyone. They seem invincible, but they're beatable against the spread, and maybe around the playoffs, I can get into the invincible mode of the Chiefs and backing them a little bit more. Would lean towards Miami here. Any final thoughts?
No, I agree with everything you said.
All right, let's move on to the Colts and the Raiders. The Colts are 3-point road favorites. Like you pointed out, there's just so many home dogs here. This game I could see being competitive, or the Colts just rolling the Raiders. I can't see the Raiders rolling the Colts.
I think you're right on that, but this is probably one of my favorite spots of the entire weekend. Give me the Raiders. The evaluation and the number here is a complete overreaction of the past 2 weeks. I mean, the Raiders 2 weeks ago after they played close to Kansas City, everybody's ready to anoint them as, they're coming. Watch out for them in the playoffs. Laid an egg in Atlanta. Obviously had some struggles against the Jets. The Colts, very fortunate to escape Houston with a victory last week. And the week before that, Tennessee ran the ball down their throats. If Josh Jacobs is healthy, I have a feeling this is going to be a very similar situation. I understand DeForest Buckner is back, changes a little bit of the Colts defense, but give me the Raiders here in a completely contrarian spot where I think if this game was played 3 weeks ago, the Raiders are -3. So my model has us at Indy -4, but this is where the eye test and the situation, I'm going to be jumping on the Raiders here, which kind of feels gross, but it feels like the correct side to be on.
Yeah, I could see this, like I said, going either way, but I think there are more outcomes that favor the Colts here. That would be my lean, but this is not a game that I love. The fact that you love the Raiders is going to have me dig into this a little bit more. What you're saying makes sense, and when you're that high on a team, that's going to have me interested, and certainly will keep me off betting the Colts. So I'm going to look into that a little bit more right now. Definitely wouldn't have a play for everyone. I've got, let's see, I've been a little more passive on these recent ones, but one, two, three of the next five are some of the games that I'm highest on. Let's start with one that is another one I don't have a ton of interest in, the Seahawks and the Jets. This one's a 13.5-point spread with Seahawks at home. It's just, I don't want to play that game. I've talked about that a lot, like these huge spreads where we're just trying to avoid like the backdoor cover and stuff so often, and not, it's not about trying to tell you, all right, well, what's the better football team here? This is just something that I am easily going to cross off and move on.
I'm in the exact same boat as you. My model has us at 12, so there's a slight lean on the Jets because it's a lot of points, and Seattle really hasn't beaten anybody that significantly. But cross off for me too. I'm ready to just pass on this game, move on to the next one. Frankly, I don't want any parts of this.
Okay, well, let's go to one of the ones that I like then. We've got the Chargers and the Falcons. And I think you know where this is headed, but I'm going to surprise you here, man. I like the Falcons here.
What? You're ditching your squad now that you've been on for so many weeks throughout the year?
But I mean, I've ditched them a while ago.
Yeah, last week you went against them too. Yeah.
Yeah, I pretty much squeezed all the value I could out of them, and did get burned once or twice by Anthony Lynn being an idiot. But I just at some point you see enough of that, and you're just like, nope, I'm out. I do not want any part of that anymore, and that's just where I'm at. I think the New England spot was an easy one to identify because of that coaching discrepancy and everything we talked about last week, right? So it's a little bit easier there. It's not like this week I'm super excited about an intern head coach going up against Anthony Lynn, but I'd still give the intern head coach the edge there, man. It's just it's ugly, and there's no way. I won't say there's no way. I can't see myself backing the Chargers anymore this year.
I will say this was the first line I looked at this week, and I was like, this just feels weird. Like it wasn't like it jumped out like, ooh, there's a ton of value, or ooh, I want to be on this side. It just like felt like, okay. Like I shrugged and ran it through the model, and the model has it at exactly 2.5 where it should be. So there is a slight lean on the Chargers according to my model, but not anywhere near anything, obviously, that I would bet. And, one thing you had mentioned, I don't know if it was last week or the week before, was how the narrative used to be that Atlanta was terrible against pass-catching running backs. And that has flipped, especially since Raheem Morris took over. We kind of mentioned their defense has been significantly better. Now you have a team that, has no problem targeting the running backs. I think, what did Eckler have, like 812 targets against Buffalo 2 weeks ago? Obviously, you could throw last week's game out because of the blowout situation. And a lot of people, I think, are going to gravitate towards the Chargers and think this is the old Atlanta, but it isn't the old Atlanta. The defense is good. This is a game I think you definitely play the under on, if I'm being honest, even though that might seem strange considering how many points that the Chargers gave up last week. But 2 of those were special teams touchdowns that were a little bit more fluky. I understand the Atlanta play. I have no feel for this. So because I don't have a feel, I'm going to abstain here.
They also they probably did hit the under last week, right? I mean, they didn't score any points. It's 45-0. I don't remember what the total was, but yeah, this one is just I don't think it's that difficult, man. So give me the Falcons here. It's not like I'm in love with the Falcons or anything, as it's largely betting against Lynn and just feeling like a lot of the value is gone from betting the Chargers, like I said. At this earlier in the season, I was big on Herbert. Everyone knows Herbert's good now. Like that value's gone. The market thinks that Herbert's good now. So I agree with the market on that. It's just now other things. I'm like, all right, well, they suck when it comes to this. All right, let's move on to the next game. We've got another one of my favorites. The Saints are 7-point favorites against the Eagles. And again, I'm going to surprise you, man. I'm not on Hurts here. I'm on the Saints. I think the Saints are going to crush them. I might play Hurts in DFS. Hurts and Ertz, man. That's going to be a pain. I guarantee my shows. I'm going to have a hard time.
Just call him Jalen. Just call him Jalen and get it over with and kind of train yourself that way,
There you go. Not Carson Wentz. Yeah, I'm just going to call him not Carson Wentz, and that's the best compliment I could give him.
I mean, I wanted to turn around and bet the Eagles. I've kind of been on the ugly Eagles side. They probably should have covered last week had it not been for that, fluky long run by Aaron Jones. They covered the week before, whether it was by accident. And everything in me, instinct-wise, is saying that I should be on the Eagles here. Absolutely everything says you should be on the Eagles here. Take the touchdown at home. I plug it into the model. The model shoots out New Orleans -12. So, I mean, I knew it was going to be ugly, and it's somehow just slightly under my auto bet level of confidence. But it is, I mean, when I say slightly under, we're talking like a 0.1%. So it's relatively close enough that I will either be on New Orleans or I will stay away because I really want to bet Philly, and I need this line to not go up so that I talk myself into Philly getting more than a touchdown throughout the week. I needed to stay at a flat 7 for the whole time, hopefully, and that's kind of where I am on this game.
This is just a massive discrepancy between the SuperContest line and my line, and I think you had a similar line too. You just said mine is 11, so double digits here, and that's a lot for my model. Like it doesn't give that big of differences. There's no way that you can point to this and be like, oh well, it's the backup quarterback's in. That's why I'm not downgrading the Eagles here because the quarterback, and I've seen some rating systems too actually giving them a 0.5 point to a point because of the quarterback change. And that should be the logical thing, right? Like when you have the worst performing quarterback in the league, you can make the assumption that, well, obviously the backup is worse than him. But I think the better conclusion to make is that the backup quarterback is going to be closer to like a league average, or like Wentz has been worse than most backups. Like if Hurts is just a decent backup, then this is an upgrade. So all of that said, look at what the Saints and Taysom Hill have done. Like what do they have to do to convince you? They've won outright and covered in the 3 games that Taysom Hill has played because nobody wants to back Taysom Hill. Like nobody believes that in the whatever Taysom Hill is doing. No one thinks he's good, but it's like it's there. Like the whether it's the scheme, the coaching, the weapons, he's getting it. It's almost like Tebow, right? The comps are just too easy. Like sure, he's not good, but he's winning. So like, well, I mean, just give me the Saints again, man. Just against one bottom 3 team in the NFL, like a horrible team. It's just better offense, better defense, better coaching. But what more do you need?
I don't know. I'm still not convinced despite all that. Everything you said is right, though. And I can make an argument that really you're betting on the New Orleans defense because you cannot run the ball on them. You physically can't, no matter what you try, no matter what options you're going to go with. I'm sure we're going to see some bizarre plays and some option type things, but you cannot run the ball on them. But, I am, having done this so long and bet so many games, I'm conditioned to see a home dog getting more than a touchdown. It just used to be an automatic. You take the home dog getting more than a touchdown, and you're going to be profitable at the end of the year regardless of situations for the most part. So that's kind of where I'm weighing in. But everything you said about New Orleans is exactly correct. And they can easily grind this game out to 20-0. 17-3. Like those are all options that are in play. And the Philly defense could play phenomenal, give up barely any points, and still not be good with the 7. So, like I said, just keep this at 7 to not entice me. Contest-wise, it's automatically going to be at 7. But in terms of me betting this game, I needed to just stay at 7 before. Next thing I know, it's Sunday at 3:45, and I'm 2-0, and I'm like, oh, it's time. We're going to back the Eagles again for the what feels like the 100th straight week. But,
I like this one a lot, but I will say like this will be one of the more popular picks. I think the Saints. So you can be contrarian if you need to catch up and back the Eagles. Like I get it, but this is one of my favorite games. Almost certainly going to be in the favorites that I give out at the end of this, which we only have a few games left. So let's talk about the 49ers and Washington. Technically no home team in this. I mean, it's the Niners home game, but it's in Arizona. They are 3-point favorites, neutral field favorites. What do you like here, man? The Niners let us down last week. I had the Niners as one of my three that I gave out, and I don't know what to make of Washington, but I definitely do not think that the Gibson injury is going to be good for them at all. I think it's going to be tough for them to be using Barber and McKissick. And really McKissick's only going to be in there if they're losing anyway. So it's just, if I had to choose, I'd take the Niners. But after last weekend, multiple times this season, it's just can't get the Niners right.
So my model has San Francisco -1, so there is kind of a lean on Washington. But we talk about teams that kind of zigzag. They play bad, they play good, they play bad, they play good, they make adjustments, they change up. It certainly seems like San Francisco is a team that has done that a bunch. I get why you'd want to back them in this game, but I can't do it. I want to bet on the Niners. Like everything in me is like I think that's the right side. Washington got this massive win. It seemed like it was a big deal. It was so emotional. Now they're going to lose their back. And they're going to go here, and they're going to end up putting up points on San Francisco. And I understand San Francisco defense is not as good as Pittsburgh, but, strange things do occur. This is the NFL. These are professionals. And I think San Francisco is the right side here, but I can't do it. I just don't trust it at this moment. But, Sunday morning, I'm looking for a 15 to put in all my contests. There are someone I have on a short list right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it. I'm not even going to have them on the short list, really. It's just don't trust it. They've not covered in 4 of their last 5 games. It's just Mullins is mostly bad. The weapons are awesome, even with Kittle out, even with Hurd out. Like, it's just they had so much potential if they could have stayed a little more healthy. But yeah, it's just I don't like Nick Mullins dropping back 40 times at this point, right? Numbers are pretty good against Buffalo, but that's deceptive. He didn't have like one of his best games of the year, despite his fantasy line looking really.
It was all garbage time when they were already down 17. I mean, come on.
Yeah, let's talk about the team that beat them and put them in garbage time, the Bills and the Steelers. This is one of those favorite games for me, man. How are the Steelers dogs here?
Thank you. I was like, come on, say it. You know what the correct side on this one is. This is complete overreaction. It was Pittsburgh -2.5 was the look-ahead line until Monday when both teams played. You're going to tell me that this is now flipped by 5 points since then? Steelers do have some slight injury concerns. Robert Spillane getting hurt means the middle linebacker position, they're going to be on number 3, which obviously is a problem at times, but they do have some speed. Joe Hayden needs to get cleared out of the concussion protocol so he can play corner. That would be very beneficial. I don't understand the spread at all. I like you said, I don't understand the Steelers are dogs. I plug this in. I have Pittsburgh -1, so massive lean. My model says this is auto bet Pittsburgh. It's my team. I wanted it to be an auto bet. I am all over this. I think the Steelers go and they score a ton of points. I think the defense looks significantly better. We've seen Josh Allen turn it over, even in games he wins. And you're not going to be able to do that against this Pittsburgh defense. Washington fumbled the ball one time right in front of T.J. Watt, and by the time he fell down, he slipped falling down on the ball, and the Washington football team picked it up, and that ended up being one of the differences in the game on Monday. So that's not going to happen 2 weeks in a row. I'm all about the Steelers here.
Yeah, so I have them as 1.5 point favorites. And keep in mind, we've pointed this out before, but numbers near the 0, they don't mean as much to go from -2 to -2 the other way. It's not that big. It's not as big of it going to 3 to 7 or something, of course. So keep that in mind, a perspective, as we're talking about the difference in what it should be versus what it is and all that. But come on, man. People were writing off the Bills a week or two ago, and all of a sudden they beat the Niners, and it just doesn't make any sense. And maybe, like you said, it's a reaction more so to the Steelers getting their first loss and everything. But the Steelers are the better team. It's almost no doubt about that. So maybe it's just that easy schedule they played, dude. Maybe they've just beat
I
all
don't want
the.
to hear that. Everybody seems to point out that whenever they had their bye week that they weren't supposed to have, that ended up becoming a bye week. Roethlisberger started having a little bit more control offensively, and it was at that time that a lot of the jet sweeps, a lot of the more creative things started to disappear from the offense. And it's not a coincidence that that's when the offense started to dip a little bit slightly. All we've heard is a recommitment to some of those things. Matt Canada, who is the I want to say the X and O guy that they brought in to be a little bit more creative, is going to have a, quote, more hands-on approach this week. I think that means more Chase Claypool. I think that means a lot more jet sweeps, especially to Claypool. And you're going to see them be a little bit more vertical. The dink and dunk and the short passes that they've been doing is not what Roethlisberger has traditionally done. He's been taking more shots vertically. The past 5 weeks, it's been closer to the line, shorter and shorter. When you can't run the ball, the safeties are coming up and they're just sitting on everything. So this is a spot where I expect Pittsburgh to play well, put up a bunch of points. Sunday night game. I'm excited to play a little showdown with my team. It's everything I want on that night. I mean, I'm already in on the Steelers, and I'm going to be even more in. And, can't be more excited for this position.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. They would be in my top 5. There's no question about that. Anytime you've got a dog listed that in your model has them as a favorite, that's not a difficult decision. So especially like the Steelers are a team we've both been high on all year, and it's worked out really well, of course, except for last week. Let's move on to the last game, the Ravens and the Browns. This is interesting to me because I feel like the people are giving the Browns a little too much credit very quickly. It's just such quick reactions. I guess that happens in football, but like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, it was like, man, well, like I got asked on a podcast, like, are the Browns going to bring Baker Mayfield back? And then literally yesterday, I'm listening to talk radio in the car, and it was a Browns broadcast for some reason. They're talking. I don't know how I got the Browns like local sports talk radio. They're talking about Baker Mayfield being the quarterback of the future, and this guy is so good, and you get such a bad. His bad games are in bad weather. You see, like that's the problem. You put him out there and you give him some weapons, and it's just everyone overreacts so much, man. I don't, and I would be on the Ravens. I think what I'm trying to say is like the Ravens are the side that I've just never really wavered on much. To me, they're one of the contenders, one of the top 5 teams or so.
I mean, I feel like I'm living in crazy town. I heard somebody say the words Baker Mayfield NFL MVP this week, and I almost fell over. What is happening? Does everybody not remember even the week before in Jacksonville, him missing wide open receivers constantly? He played one good game. One. And everybody's overreacting like this. My model has this at Baltimore -5. I am all over the Ravens. I was all over the Ravens on Tuesday night, and because I don't remember what day the games are played. And Baltimore has owned Cleveland outside of that one weird game last year at the beginning of the year where Cleveland ran for like 300 yards against them that kind of made no sense. Baltimore's healthy. Everybody's coming off the COVID list. Besides their offensive line, this is the most well put together Ravens team they have had in weeks of having everybody back and kind of prepared, maybe except for Dez Bryant, I suppose, but I don't really think that makes that much of a difference. But this is a fantastic spot. I can't believe this line is only 1. I think it was at some point before the game, I mentioned in Slack that I saw Baltimore was -1 on the look-ahead line, and I was like, what is this? This just feels wrong. This feels incorrect. the public is going to look and remember, oh yeah, uh, you're kind of saying like, what is the overreaction to everything? Uh, Nobody remembers that Baltimore was really good and then had things kind of turn for them. They're just going to remember, I watched them struggle against New England. I watched them struggle against Pittsburgh twice. And oh yeah, they beat Dallas, but we know Dallas is bad. So that's it. That's their frame of reference. That's all the public is thinking. They're not remembering that this team won a bunch of games last year and ran the ball all over everybody. If Cleveland is able to stop them and slow them down, I would be surprised. I know the Cleveland defense has been good, but this is not a normal offense. And it just feels like I've always expected as a Steeler fan and watched the Cleveland Browns, anytime they were supposed to be good or supposed to do something great, when they are expected to in a competitive game, that they fall apart. They've been doing it for, I don't know, 25 years since Bill Belichick left there the first time. So here's another opportunity. The Cleveland Browns, tight game, Monday Night Football, everything's lined up for them to kind of ascend to that spot, to be that team. Myles Garrett saying, oh, the Steelers opened the door. Okay, all right, we'll see. The Steelers open the door, and you're going to turn around and you're going to drop this game, and that's going to be over with quick. Give me Baltimore, give me the Ravens, and that's where I will be on Monday night.
Yeah, this one's easy. Do you remember why the Steelers were like probably my favorite bet of the year against the Browns that week? Do you remember why I liked the Steelers that week or not?
Was it Baker?
It was Baker. It was the fact that he can't deal with pressure. And if you look at like the teams that blitz the most, teams that create a lot of pressure, the Steelers, of course, are way up there. They blitz a ton, and the Ravens blitz a ton. And you look at, keep in mind, like this matchup's happened already. Those were their two biggest blowouts: the Steelers game and the Ravens game. They got crushed 6-38 against the Ravens, and it was 7-38 against the Steelers. It's gonna be another one of those games. They might not score 10 points again. This is a really bad matchup fit for Baker Mayfield, and this is like one of the it's just perplexing. It's just it doesn't make sense that people are so excited about Baker again already. It's just, I'm not saying he's never going to be good or anything like that. It's just, why are you so quick to change your opinion like this? It's just, he did really well against a bad pass defense in Tennessee. Did good. Like, that's what you should do. Baltimore's not a really bad pass defense. It's going to be tough. So, like, and keep in mind too, like, he's just Odell Beckham. He doesn't have, like, earlier in the season he had Beckham. This is worse than earlier in the season when he was getting blown out. So that's it, man. That's all the games. I know it's obviously a full slate. The bye weeks are done and everything. There's a lot of games. So however many you want to give me. If you want to give me 2, 3, 4, let me know which games you're highest on.
So, well, the problem here is I think that the two we agree the most on is the one we're both going to end up being on the same side of, is Baltimore and Pittsburgh. I think are the two best bets on the entire board for the weekend. And then the other one, it's funny, we agreed again with Cincinnati. So we have Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and then I'm going to give you a fourth one, and you were with me on this one too, Miami. So we are in weird lockstep, and because of all that, I want to mention the team that I really like that I think is probably the underrated bet of the week is the Raiders. So I know we're going to have a lot of overlap there. So I will give you the Raiders, and then, well, the other four I kind of already said. So there you go.
Yeah, the first three you mentioned, I am all about. The Dolphins in there, that's more borderline. I ultimately probably wouldn't end up getting there. Be afraid of, it's just, I don't want to bet. It's not even fun betting against Mahomes. I'd rather root for Mahomes. So no, I'm probably not going to do that. But
I agree with you. And I'm scared. Like, that's the one that I have at the bottom of my list that I'm ready to, will be very interchangeable come the weekend, I will say.
Yeah, but I'll add a couple teams here and favorites. So, hopefully these are right. I feel like a fish, but I like the Bucks and I like the Falcons. I think those are pretty solid bets. The Falcons are 2.5-point favorites. The Bucks are bigger favorites, 6.5. But both of those games, I feel good about, man. So, and then these other, I feel like I have all favorites, but in reality, these other games, it's like the Ravens, it's -1, whatever, and then the Steelers were getting 2.5, and that one I just okay, like we have the favorite in my opinion, but we're actually getting points in that one, so that's not too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've done that before where I've looked at my card and I'm like, oh man, I have all favorites. This feels wrong. Or I have all dogs. This feels wrong. So I always kind of want to have a good mix. And, there's room on the Raiders bandwagon. It's a nice home dog, getting a few points. I need Josh Jacobs to be there before that I would actually be in on that one. If he's not, then that is a completely different offense. But
Yeah,
I understand.
Yeah, it's not like I have a strong lean there or anything, so I wouldn't try to talk you out of that or anything. But I'm not gonna get there myself personally. That wraps it up, though, man. It was a lot of games to talk about, but feel pretty good heading into this week. Getting a solid amount of data, of numbers to look at, to be able to judge team strength and schedule so far and matchups and all that kind of stuff. So I love this part of the season heading into the playoff stretch here. Fantasy football playoffs start this week also. So any final words before we get out of here?
No, I'm excited. I can't wait until we have these next couple weeks, like you said, where, you have the Thursday game, you have the Saturday games, you have the Sunday, the Monday. Give me the games every day. Like, I'm all about that. I'm not trying to, spend time watching a holiday movie. Give me a 4 p.m. game with two teams that have 4 wins total. Let's go. Give me those games on TV for the island games. Let's have fun with it.
Basketball's right around the corner, too. What, about a week and a half now? I mean, preseason's Friday this week, so crazy. You want games every day? There you go. We got basketball coming for you. If you haven't signed up for basketball, Number Ball early bird is going to last for about another week at the most, I would say. You get it for under $180. That is ridiculous. That's like less than half price from last year, I think. So go sign up for that before we take it down. Appreciate everyone tuning in. We will catch you next time. Until then, you awesome kids.